In today's video I'm going to talk you through drawing a picture very similar to this one. I'm a big fan of using circles and lines, and this one starts to bring in a little floral aspect. Now I have covered adding a few leaves on a previous Let's Doodle video, but this one is a little bit more colourful and a little bit more delicate. I was very much into exploring with these leaves and floral designs in my sketchbook. This is sketchbook 8. And I would very much encourage you, if you have a go at this, to explore other ways of creating a drawing like this. So I'll be using a sheet of A4 cartridge paper today. This is 140 GSM recycled paper. I don't love this recycled paper, to be quite honest with you, but it's what I've got, so I'm going to use it up, and I'd encourage you to use whatever you've got to hand. I'm also going to use my sellotape to draw around the inside of. This is just a large roll of sellotape, and I'm going to use a black marker pen, a fine liner. This is a Unipin 0.3, and I'm going to use some felt tip pens today and a coloured gel pen. Now, I don't usually use felt tip pens on my full process videos, but I thought I'd try and make this video a little bit more accessible for those of you who are just starting out. So usually I would border my page with a black marker pen, but I've started recently just using a pencil line. Now I draw this line about 1 centimetre from the edge of the page, and I do this because I like to have a definitive line to draw up to. I have explained this before, otherwise you end up running off the page, and yeah, it's just annoying when you get marker pen on the table. So this drawing should only take about half an hour to do, but take your time, don't rush. All I'm going to do is draw around the inside of the sellotape, and I've positioned this about 1 centimetre from the left and about 1 centimetre from the bottom of the page. Now it sounds very simple just to draw around the inside of a roll of sellotape, but you can make mistakes. So be sure that you can easily move your hand and then draw firmly around the edge. If you find that you're getting a little bit tentative with it, you'll end up with something like this, which can be slightly annoying. But I'll show you in another video how to correct mistakes like this, because I don't like wasting paper personally, so when I make a mistake I do tend to come back to it and rework it. So the second circle I want to intersect the first. I'll start drawing the circle on the line that we can see, because I find that if you do have a rough stop and start for the pen, then having it on the edge here is the best place for it. So just firmly make that circle. Then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to displace my circle just a few millimetres, so that's about 6 millimetres at the widest point, and firmly draw your circle in place. And what we've got is kind of like a double circle. And the next one is just going to be a single circle, and I'm positioning it up and over but not directly above, so it's slightly to the right. And again I'm going to start my line on the line we can see and firmly draw around the inside of the sellotape. If you're struggling drawing around the sellotape, because with a marker pen it can be a little bit difficult, especially if you've got ridges on the pen nib, do some practice sheets. Just make some sections on a practice sheet and use them for your doodles in the future. So this next circle I'm raising up a bit higher, and I want to do the same as this one. I want to draw a circle and then displace it and draw another. and then another one down here. I want to try and make the ellipses about the same size without intersecting that one, so I think that will be pretty good. And this last one down here is going to be a displaced circle. Like so. If you hesitate as you're drawing around the circle, and if you do it in little bursts like that, you'll end up with these little kind of burrs wherever you've stopped the pen. So if you can try and do it with a nice smooth turn of the pen, as quickly as possible, as firmly as possible, you'll get a much better, smoother edge. I hope that's been useful. Let me do a close-up of that one. You really don't want these little lines, little dots wherever you've stored the pen, and sometimes you can get this kind of crossover. So do try to be firm when you draw your circles. I forgot to mention having a pencil to hand would be useful, and an eraser. What I'm going to do is I'm going to draw some sweeping lines across the page, and I find if I do them in pencil it means that I can try to get them in the right place. I've got a bit of a breeze coming through here. Let me turn some lights on. So I'm not sure if this will come out very clearly because it's using pencil on the page, but we shall give it a go. So I want my first line to start about an inch from this top corner, and I want it to finish down here, just off the centre. And I also want to get some curves in there. So I'm just having a feel, moving my arm, thinking about where it's going to go. And then I'm committing the pencil to the page. Got a little bit of a wiggle here, and that's why we do it in pencil first. The next one, I want to start a little bit further over, and I want this one to come up, down and finish about here. Now when I'm drawing these lines, I find once I've started drawing the line, it's good to look to where you're going to finish. So it just helps you get the pencil in the right place. Slightly out, but not too bad. The next line that I want to draw across the page, I'm going to bring down here. Now I find it a lot easier to draw a curve on the inside, so I'm going to spin that around 180, and this one I want to bring down to here, so I'm going to curve it like so. And then I'm going to turn my work back the right way round. So the next lines I want to go up the page, and because I know that this curve is going to go like this, I'm going to turn it so that the arch is on the inside of my wrist. And this one is just a straight curve up. Turn my work 180 and another straight curve up. Now what I'm going to do is take my marker pen and I'm going to follow these lines, but I'm not going to draw through the circles. So I'm going to start and stop. I'll show you what I mean. So I'm turning my work so that my wrist can flow. I'm going to start on this one because it's closest, and I'm just going to smoothly draw up to the circle. And again to the edge there. And I'll do this for all of the circles. Remember, you need to be quite confident with putting the marker pen down on the page. If you stop and start, you'll get jaggedy edges. But if you do get jaggedy edges, that's okay. We can work with those. It's all part of the learning curve. And in fact, sometimes it's a good idea to have a few jaggedy edges. I've got a couple here, look. They can add something to the drawing. Well, I haven't followed the pencil lines exactly. They are just a guide. I think that will do nicely. Now what we can do is just rub out all of the pencil lines. So this next part, you can do it in pencil if you prefer and then commit it to pen, but I'm just going to go straight in there because that's what I do. I'm going to make a wiggly line across the page here. Now I want it to go in like a very shallow S shape. So I'm going to start at the bottom here and I'm going to finish kind of around here somewhere. Shallow S, like so. And I'm going to do this in all of the circle sections. But think about where your line's going to go. I don't actually want my line to finish on that line, so I'm going to do it my S shape this way. And this one I'm going to put 2 in because I have room. So I've put 2 in this one because I've got all this space, and depending on your own spacing you might be able to fit 2 in on some of them as well. So all I'm going to do now is draw in some little leaves. It's very simple. You just need to draw a little curve and a little curve. I don't think you really need me to tell you how to draw a little leaf. But these leaves are, what, about 6mm big. And they don't have to be perfect. But I'm just alternating them on the page. These are great little patterns to use in your art journals. And on all these thin lines, I'm just going to draw in the little leaves. You might find sometimes you haven't got a lot of room. It's okay to make a smaller leaf if that's the case. It doesn't really distract from the overall picture if your leaves are not evenly spaced or some of them are bigger than the others. This is all about experimenting and just finding the confidence to start drawing, really. So your picture might not look exactly the same as mine, but I hope it's similar. So I am using a fine liner on this drawing. I would normally be using a gel pen, most of you will know that. But the gel pens don't really work on this recycled paper, so I am stuck to using the fine liner on this. And I do quite like the fine liner for little details, but I find it isn't so good for these long sweeping lines. Yeah, do turn your work as well as you need to, just to make it more comfortable. And you don't have to do exactly the same leaf shape either. As always, I will encourage you to try out different patterns and different techniques. You could just draw the basic shapes out and then fill in these patterns with other things. I have been on a bit of a mission, I think, in the last 6 months to try and find a way to integrate the floral aspects with the geometric aspects, and I am getting there a little bit. So what I'm going to do now is draw on some leaves on these sweeping lines. These are going to be kind of like vines in the background. And what I'm going to do is pick one of these lines. Let's pick the simple one over here. So I'm going to try to keep all the leaves pointing in a logical direction as they would if they were growing naturally. But the first one I'm going to do up here, I'm going to draw one line that's about 2 centimetres, maybe just under, off the page here, and then I'm going to work my way every inch or so and try and do the same. Now I want to make sure that there's room for me to draw the leaves on there. So I don't want to go right up to the top here. I want to kind of curve it out so that I've got room to draw my leaf. I've got no space here for one, so I'm going to leave it and reconvene down here and down here. And then I'm going to draw my leaf. Now these ones are slightly different. They're curved at the bottom and pointy at the top. I find it easier to draw the curve, go to a point, come down and round. And we'll do that for all of these little stalks. And then what we're going to do is draw another pointy leaf, but it will start at the base of the stalk, the stem, the stalk. Now don't worry again if these are not perfect. And I'm going to do the same around the rest of the picture. Now I'm going to film the whole of this. I'm not going to fast forward this bit because seeing how I'm placing them I think is going to be quite useful. So I'll start on this line now. To draw out about 2 centimetres, and the same here. Now for fear of repeating myself again and again and again, I don't want anyone to feel like they have to rush out and buy specialist equipment just to do this kind of work. When I started, I had a pretty dodgy sketchbook from the pound shop. And a few rubbishy pens. So really, if you're just starting out, you really don't need much. So this one, if I was to draw another one here, it's going to intersect. So I'm not going to even think or entertain drawing one there, but I will draw one here, and I will have one coming out here. So figuring out the placement can be quite tricky. I haven't really left myself enough room to draw the little leaf down here, so I'm just going to leave it. And then this one, I want one of the things about doing this kind of drawing is you do have some artistic license to just not put the extra leaf in. And I don't think it will look terrible without it. Yeah, I think that will do nicely. And then all we've got to do is colour it in. So with a few very simple lines and patterns, we've got something that's quite effective on the page. Quite often I go in and round off all my corners, but I'm not doing that for this one. I'm keeping this one very simple as a real beginner's drawing. So for the colour, I have chosen 2 green felt tip pens and a green metallic Zebra Doodles glitter pen. You can use whatever you've got to hand. I chose to do this in felt tip pen because I wanted to make it accessible and inexpensive. So if you haven't got any colours at home, you could pick up a pack of coloured pencils or felt tip pens or whatever you choose. So what I'm going to do is with the felt tip pen, I'm just going to colour in the leaves that are sticking out from the vine. Now felt tip pens are pretty awful for colouring in, but if you can do it quickly, you shouldn't get any scratchy lines. If you let the felt tip pen dry, or covering a big area, you will get yeah, those scratchy nasty bits going on. But for small areas like this, they work pretty well. But yeah, it's never going to be a masterpiece if you're just using a felt tip pen, but like I said, I just wanted to make this accessible to everyone without having to go out and buy lots of new equipment. So work your way around the drawing, just colouring in just the ones that are attached to the main vines. You see I'm using little strokes and I'm working really quickly with the felt tip pen. I'm getting a few little bits of overlap, scratchy bits. Like I said, this isn't meant to be a masterpiece, this is about having some fun. And especially if you're doing something like this in an art journal or for journaling, you know, you don't need to be using posh paints for those, do you? So these felt tip pens aren't anything special, they just came from my local stationers. So the felt tip pen isn't great. I've got a few little scratchy overlaps, but that's fine. It's just my sketchbook. Now what I'm going to do is, with the same dark colour, I'm going to fill in a few sections of the circles where we've got the overlap. So I'm picking this one up here to start with. I'm just going up to where it's intersecting the other circle, and then I'm going to move myself around and do the same down here. So it's almost like having this circle here has taken the colour away from that semicircle. And so again, this bit's going to be dark green because it's not intersected by a circle. So I'm doing little short strokes to try and avoid any overlap, those scraggy overlaps that you get with felt tip pen. And this one up here as well. And I'm going to do the same on all the other doubled circles. Every bit that isn't intersected by another circle is going to be dark green. Yeah, I'm trying to work really quickly. I'm still getting a little bit of overlap, but as soon as you let that ink dry on the paper, you'll get a really nasty overlap. I think darker colours are a bit more forgiving than lighter colours. There we go. Right, that's it for the dark green. So in the drawing I showed you earlier, I coloured in the intersections with colour. I'm going to do something different on this one just to make it simple, and because we're using felt tip pens. Felt tip pens are awful for big areas. They just really are. So on this one, what I'm going to do is I'm going to use my light colour to fill in the rest of the circle sections. So you see, as I'm working quickly, I'm getting less of that scraggy overlap. I should show you on another piece of paper, but I don't have any other paper to hand at the minute. I'm sure it will happen on this one. do find that the shorter strokes you use, the less of that scraggy overlap you get. If you start doing long sweeping lines, you're going to get more of that overlap. Yeah, try not to keep going over the bit you've just added colour to as well. Just go up to the edge of it. And work very quickly. There we go. That's not too bad actually for felt tip pens. So what I'm going to do with the lighter colour is all of the ones on little stems up here. I'm going to colour all those in as well. So don't feel that you've got to stick to using green. You can use whatever colours that you like. The ones I showed you earlier were blue and purple. It's just about experimenting. So I think doodling can actually be quite rewarding to do. If you are struggling with other art forms, then this is wonderful. I do enjoy, and I am still learning, other art forms as well, but this for me is just a real escape. I get so much out of just sitting at my desk here and drawing. Peace and quiet time. My breathing slows down. I do keep going on about the meditative qualities of doing this kind of art. It is a form of art therapy. It's just me in my space, and everything else in the world just disappears. Doesn't matter that there's laundry or ironing to do. Doesn't matter that there's washing up to be done. This is my little space here. This is where I'm going to be creative and just experiment with different things. So this drawing isn't actually too daunting to do. Some of the ones that I've shown you are quite complex and require quite a bit of thought, or there's a lot of repetition involved. This one is just super simple, and 30 minutes and we're done. And especially because we're using felt tip pens, this makes it such a quick drawing to do. So now I'm going to add some of the glitter gel pen, and I'm going to add this on the little leaves because I like to have a little bit of sparkle on my page. I know I'm far too old for glitter pens and gel pens and sparkles, but maybe I was deprived of sparkle as a child, who knows. I'm well into my prime now, and or maybe past my prime, but yeah, I do just love having a little bit of sparkle on the page. Now, using these gel pens, these are great for small little fillers like this as well. They can be used for slightly larger sections, but sometimes the gel pens, if they're not a very good quality, you can end up with scratchy marks and things, and they just run out. Sometimes the cheap ones anyway just run out halfway through because the ink isn't flowing through the nib. These zebra doodlers even, are actually quite good. I've only had about 3 or 4 fail on me with the ink flow, but that's out of how many packs of these have I got through? So there's 10 in a pack, and I've probably got through about 5 or 6 of these packs of gel pens. There's a few colours that I really don't use very often. I don't use the black one very often. Although it's very nice, I really should make an effort to use that. And I don't really use the gold and the silver ones very often either. And again, maybe I should. So I've got a little stash of the silver ones particularly. But yeah, these glitter doodlers, they flow really lushly. Like, you know, there's lots of ink coming out the nib. They're very smooth across the page. And the colours are actually really good. I only wish I could find somewhere that sold more, like bigger sets of them. Oh yeah, and I should just mention the price of these glitter doodlers varies greatly. I don't know if they're available in all countries around the world. I'm presuming with the likes of Amazon you can get pretty much anything anywhere these days. But my local supermarket sells a pack of 10 for £5, whereas my local Home Bargains charges £2.99 for a pack of 10. So it is worth shopping around. And if you're like me and like a good bargain, there we go. Done. So that's quite an effective drawing really, given that we're only using a few felt tip pens and a sellotape inner. So I'll be back in 2 weeks' time with another Let's Doodle. And do subscribe if you're not already, if you don't want to miss out on those. And my other regular videos will carry on as usual as well. I've put the video schedule in the description, so yeah, do read that if you want to find out what that is. Thanks for joining me. I really hope that you enjoy giving this one a go.